It's a real pleasure to talk about the next presenter, a true real pleasure. Dr. Temple Grandin is a professor at Colorado State. She is a world-renowned animal behavior expert. The movie Temple Grandin, which was an HBO movie, was nominated for 15 Emmys and received 7 Emmys. And this movie was on the life of Temple Grandin and what she overcame, what she's produced, and what she's done with her life. National Cattlemen's Association just recently honored her with the highest award that we can give to anyone. It was the NCBA Lifetime Achievement Award for her work in the humane processing and treatment of animals. Half the cattle in the United States go through packing plants that Dr. Temple Grandin helped design. And that has been a great boon for all of us in the cattle industry. In 2010, Time magazine voted the top 100 most influential people in the world. Under the heading of heroes, Temple Grandin was in that top 100 heroes. Dr. Grandin is a friend of agriculture. She is a friend of us, personally, on your ranch. What she has done through her life affects each and every one of us in a positive way. And it is my real honor to introduce Dr. Temple Grandin.
Great to be here today. Hope the wind doesn't blow my notes away because I don't have any slides. Usually I don't do cattle handling talks without slides, so I got to have notes. My slides are on this piece of paper. And one basic principle is calm animals are easier to handle. That's true for every kind of livestock that there is. And if the animals get all upset, let them calm down for 20 or 30 minutes. They can get scared in about 2 seconds. It takes half an hour to calm back down. So you say, well, I don't have time to do that. Yeah, but you have time to fix busted gates and everything, all that kind of stuff. So the first thing is calming down. The next thing is stop yelling and screaming and waving your arms. You know, there's 2 research studies that show that that's really stressful for cattle. Now we got to do these 2 things before you can do any of the things that Kurt Pate shows you. Because the things that Kurt Pate are going to show you this afternoon don't work if the cattle are all crazy and you've stirred them all up. You've got to have calm cattle to make that work. I want to just go into talking about a few things about animal behavior and how animals perceive the world. Cattle and other animals are a sensory-based thinker. See, they don't have words, so their memories are pictures. Their memories are sounds. And when it comes to cattle and cattle handling, vision is the dominant sense. And animals will associate something that they see with a bad experience. And unfortunately, a lot of animals, dogs in particular, guys are bad, girls are good. They can get afraid of maybe guys with beards because a guy with a beard did something bad to them. But they make visual associations. Their memories are very specific. Like, for example, let's say you only work your cattle on horse. Now they've gotten used to that. So now they're really, really tame. Small flight zone to a person on a horse. Then you ship them away from here. And they go to a feed yard somewhere. And they want to handle them on foot. They're going crazy. Because you see, a man on a horse and a man on the ground are 2 different pictures. A pickup truck and a 4-wheeler are 2 different pictures. This is why it's important to train them to all of these things. So that when they go on down the supply chain, they're going to be used to these things and they won't be new. See, the thing about new stuff, new things are scary if you just shove it in their face. New things are attractive if you put it out in the middle of the pasture. Like you park the 4-wheeler in the middle of the pasture, the cows are going to come up and lick the paint off of it. You know, new things, if they can voluntarily approach, are interesting. New things are scary if you just suddenly force it on them. And it's extremely important to make an animal's first experience of something new, like a four-wheeler, a man on foot, the squeeze chute, whatever, the cattle corrals, a good first experience. If their first experience in the corral system is you poked them with a zillion hot shots and screamed at them and hit them, they're not going to want to go back in there again. This is one of the reasons why it's a really good idea to take young heifers and just walk them through your corrals. Don't do anything. Walk them through the chute. Don't do anything with them. Now, I wouldn't do that 5 times a day because they're going to get too nervous if you do that. But you might want to do that a couple of days apart to make those first experiences good first experiences. Sometimes we've got to do stuff that hurts, but it shouldn't be the first experience with a new place, a new person, or a new thing, because they don't forget. They're like the elephant, and they don't forget bad experiences. Now, I was just recently at a meeting with some people from Texas, and they said something that I know you're not going to be very happy about. These are people that I just saw within the last week. They run feed yards in Texas. And with the high cattle prices, they can't be quite as selective about which cattle they buy from Florida cattlemen. And they said that some of the worst cattle they had in the feed yard came from Florida. This is recent. This isn't something that I heard 5 years ago. This is something I've heard within the last week. And they said, oh, these calves were awful. It took them 2 weeks to stop running away from the feed wagon. They're not going to be eating very well if they're running away from the feed wagon. I've been very interested in learning about the research you've been doing here. And you've been doing a research project where you're early weaning of calves. So 70 days, 90 days. I'm kind of going, oh, maybe that would be stress. And you've been finding less stress and better performance when they go on down the supply chain than the calves that you wean at 6 months. You know what? I don't think it's the weaning age. I don't think the weaning age has anything to do with it. When you wean those calves early, you got people out there walking with them. You've got trucks coming out feeding them. Now they're associating vehicles with food, not being chased. Because if you spend time walking with cattle and working with them and calming them down, I think that's the reason why you're getting all these nice physiological results showing that the stress is reduced. Where the cattle that were weaned at 6 months, oh, chuck them out in some pasture somewhere? Because I asked specifically what they were doing. Those were just put out in a pasture. Nobody goes near them. 2 months later, they're rounded up, jammed in a truck, and go to a feed yard. And nobody has spent any time walking through those cattle, getting those flight zones made smaller. You know, if you just leave them out there and they don't ever see anything, and then you just bring them in, they're going to be wilder than heck. And some of the worst cattle I have ever seen in a feed yard and at a packing plant are ones where they've only been handled on horseback. And then they see their first person on foot, take him in the processing chute at a feed yard, and now you've got a 50-foot flight zone and a 20-foot wide pen. That can get really dangerous really fast. I can tell you another thing that gets really dangerous really fast is cattle that have had dogs biting them in the chutes. That teaches cattle to kick with both back feet. And even after they've gone through the feed yard, and then I get to see them at the packing plant. I remember one heifer, she was really nasty. I touched her on the back in a crowd pen and she let me have both back feet, double-barreled shotgun in the face. She came that close to killing me. I have had that happen twice.